summer update, so feel free to fire away with questions.
Anthony, what's your summer update? Have you been back in Australia or spending the summer here? How's it going?
Yeah, I went back home for just over 3 weeks, probably about a month ago. It was great. I mean, I loved it. Apart from it being winter, that was the only thing I didn't like. But seeing family, seeing friends again. Obviously, I hadn't been home in 2 years, so it was great to get back and kind of see my people again.
When we talked to Tommy about a month ago, he had mentioned that the two of you, as well as Tobe and Mo, had indicated pretty quickly that you wanted to come back and wanted to get that settled. Why did you know that right away, that you both wanted to come back here?
I love what, Coach Lloyd and, the staff and, the program's all about. And, I feel like I definitely want to finish out my senior year here. I wouldn't want to do it anywhere else. And I feel like they're going to help me, achieve my goals at the next level. And, starting here, Coach Lloyd, we got our whole staff back, some key players, some new guys. And so we're all going to help each other, achieve our goals.
What did each of you guys learn from last year's season moving forward? First timer, now a veteran.
I mean, for me, obviously, like you said, first time I come from a mid-major level was a huge eye opener. You get pretty new with it pretty fast. It hits you pretty quick. Body-wise, strength-wise, athletically, it's just a different ball game from the mid-major level. But like Jaden said, like coming back, that's a big reason I want to come back. I understand it more now. The knowledge is there. You have those past experiences that make you want to change and make you want to get better. So that I just kind of taken the knowledge I took from last year and the experiences through all our games and kind of bring it into this year.
What are maybe one of the two things that you're working on this summer to be better next year?
My body for sure is one of them. That's something I've really focused on pretty much since we lost to Duke last year. That's from the get-go. No time off, just went straight to that. That's always going to be an ongoing process, but so far it's going great. Something else, you're always just fine-tuning things, defensively, you're always thinking, I can do this, I can do that. Offensive, I can do this, and I can do that. But for sure, my body's the number one thing.
Just following up on that previous question, your thought process this spring and decision to come back, would you consider anything else, transfer, pros, et cetera, whatever?
No, I was pretty heavily, wanting to come back pretty quickly. Like you said, I just thought that with what I experienced last year, the way Tommy kind of recruited me, the way we had talked about like the process and what you want to achieve, later in your career, he could really help me with those things. And, with certain guys kind of leaving, new guys coming in, I could see the foundation was already there, especially the guys like JB come back, Tobe, Krivas, kind of set that tone for me to I can step right in to something I already know with coaches I already trust, and I can just build on what I already did.
Have either of you met Koa Pete, and did you follow what he and Coach Lloyd did over the summer internationally?
Yeah, I actually tuned in to some of the games while we were on break. Koa was dominating over there, with the best of the best, and I don't expect anything, less for Koa. I asked him about the trip. He liked it. And, he said it was a long trip for sure. Excited for him, Coach Lloyd, and, the rest of the guys that were on the staff to get the gold. And, excited for him to get back with the team and so we can continue to grow as one.
Just to go back to the question, what did you learn last year to moving forward for this coming year yourself?
Personally, just got to be more consistent, with my game. As a team, defense, with these summer workouts, we've been preaching, harping on defense and, good offense. And I feel like, throughout the year, last year, we kind of had our ups and downs, shooting-wise and defensive-wise. So, kind of staying consistent, the whole year. It's not going to be perfect, but, the defense is something that can be consistent throughout the year. And, shooting's going to be up, going to be down, but, hang our hat on the defense end.
Jaden, just to follow on Koa Pete, how much have you been in the gym with him? What does he look like to you as a player?
Yeah, he's always in the gym. Hats off to him. He always wants to get better. Very strong, physical guy. He has some crazy dunks already. Athletic on the defensive end. Big presence and excited to see what he can really do when we really get up and down versus other opponents.
Even though you had agreed to come back and sign redshirt or whatever, what was that process like? You were in the draft pool again this year, which you were last year. Was it different this time around? Did you learn anything? What was that experience like?
Yeah, actually, my name was in there, but I talked to some of the people, and I decided not to do. I didn't do any of the workouts or anything. So once I talked to Coach Lloyd and everybody, and was fully committed to coming back, I pulled my name out of it, and I was just working to get better within the offense. Just in the summer, working on stuff that we're gonna translate to Arizona basketball.
What does it feel like for both of you guys, just this whole rev share era, now that school's actually, they're actually paying you directly? You already had NIL deals and all that, but is it different this time around? Does it feel different era, whatever, or same as far as, how it affects you?
Not really to me. I mean, I feel like we just put basketball first and kind of let, who we trust to take care of that. At the end of the day, I show up, I lift, I practice, we get extra shots up, we hang out. Life's pretty much the same. These all extra rules are for other people to deal with.
Well, does it matter in the sense that you guys you signed the deal and you're coming? It seems like maybe a little more certainty this way, that you know what you're expecting and they know what, because you guys both signed, in April, pretty early, right?
Yeah, I think it just comes down to the trust. I don't think anyone ever thinks that what you talk about is not going to happen when you trust someone. You believe what they say, you believe that they're going to hold up their end, and you hold up your end by showing up, by working out, by putting extra time in, and that's all I can do. And then the rest is kind of up to fate. It's whether you trust them or you don't. And if I didn't, I wouldn't have come back. So that's a big reason why I did come back, because I trust these guys.
Have you talked about your body? How you must have gained some weight, maybe some strength.
Yeah, I've gained. I want to say 25 pounds at least. I'm still soaring up, still trying to lift weights, still getting bigger. It's always a work in progress, like I said before, but that's been the big focus. I mean, me and Coach Rounds have been in the weight room a bunch, different things, different eating styles and lifting weights, and it's something I've really focused on. So I got a little bit to go, but for sure I'll put on.
How was that last year, being undersized or whatever, less skinnier, and played against people at this level?
It's eye-opening. It's also because, you play games and you play certain types of matchups, and some guys are quicker, some guys are bigger, some guys are taller, and you just kind of adapt. And I didn't think that I was too far behind it, and that's kind of encouraging in a way, because you're right there, and with the thought of, hey, I got an off-season coming up, I got all this time to get ready, and now that the results are kind of showing, now it's okay, I can really, instead of just surviving now, I can really dominate this thing with that added extra weight.
Last year you guys had a player that was coming back from injury in Henry Vasar. This year, Krivas is kind of doing the same, kind of working his way back. What have you guys seen out of him throughout that process? How is his health coming along and just preparation for the season?
Krivas is, he's a warrior. That injury is not easy, not playing, but he's been doing a great job with J-Rock and, other people he's working with doing his treatment. We saw him back on the court. He's looking like he never skipped a step, dominant. And, we're excited for him to get a full season with us.
Well, you guys, kind of were leaders last year. Does it change this year? Are you more so that way? Or are you doing different things the way you approach, kind of being the veterans in this team?
None of the stuff kind of really changes. Missing some key guys that were leaders last year, but we definitely changed some little stuff because obviously we didn't get as far as we hoped to. So you got to make minor little adjustments, little tweaks. But we got to me, Deli, Tobe, Krivas. We've been in this program, so we really got to step up, speak up. But I feel like with this program, everybody has a voice. Even if it's a freshman, when they're talking, everybody's gonna have eyes on them, listening. We all respect one another. So.
Sorry. When compared to where you were at this point last year, seeing all these new guys that are here in the program, most of which are freshmen, do you kind of see something in them that newness of being here, and that you are able to give them an idea of what to expect?
Yeah, there's always growing pains with anyone. It doesn't matter how good you are, but that's where we kind of come in as guys that have been in the program. We can kind of help. I can give my kind of 2 cents on what I went through and things that I'm seeing, maybe ways that coach explained it. I can find a way to say it a different way that may get through to them. And I think that just comes down to the 4 of us who did come back. We can really use our experience to kind of help them. And they're also eager to learn. That's the number one thing. If you have to be willing to be coachable, and these guys are great at that. They're willing to take information like no tomorrow. So it's promising signs, and they're obviously off to a good start.
Can you talk about the schedule? Last year was very good. Mm-hmm. This year it's even better. Just your thoughts on playing that schedule.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. Play the best of the best. Right away. We got a tough game out the gate. That's what we preparing for. But if it starts in practice, so we'll keep building, working on ourselves first, and when it gets closer to that date, we'll start preparing, getting that scouting report, and getting all that together. But right now, working on, finding each other, finding how we can play with each other and connecting that bond.
Is it the same type of reaction for you guys in terms of when you look at the schedule, when you start to see the teams pop up, like when you saw Florida pop up, and like for everybody out here, it was like, oh wow. I mean, is it the same type of reaction for the players as well? When you see that?
Not for sure. I mean, you definitely, everything. We watched the national championship, and the last thing you can remember is Florida. They won it all, and a great team. They got a great coaching staff over there. So we're excited to play the former national championship team, and see how we can match up, and we want to come out with that win for sure.
You're a player that is familiar coming from overseas to the U.S. and playing in college basketball. You guys have 3 freshmen coming in that are doing the same thing. What would your biggest advice be for them as they transition to basketball in America?
Yeah, I would just say, keep working hard. Obviously, just there's going to be times where you don't want to keep playing. You want to kind of go home, or you want to kind of give in a little bit, and you can't. You just got to keep kind of pushing. You got to trust that the people you chose to come play for, that they have your best interest, and that when you practice, you're really like going 100%, wanting to get better. It may take longer than you expected, but you can't give in to that unfortunate like feelings or whatever you have in the moment.
You talked about going back to Australia for the summer, part of the summer. What's your favorite thing to do there? Like, what's that one thing, like, as soon as you get back, I got to go do this?
Most of it's eating, to be honest. I mean, I love going home. There's so much different food that I find I can't get all the time here. So I do that. I mean, my family loves to golf. We go out and hit the course a little bit. Just enjoy family time, see friends that I haven't seen in, a few years, go kick the footy, stuff like that. Just small things that kind of remind you of your kind of upbringing. I love doing that for the last little bit. I love Greek food. I like all types of food, to be honest. But Greek's up there for sure.
For either of you, and Tom's kind of mentioned it before, this freshman class seems to be better or bigger physically than maybe your average freshman. Have you noticed that in summer workouts, just the strength and the physicality of the newcomers?
Yeah, I don't know, what they feeding these guys nowadays, these freshmen. But they coming in bigger, stronger. Some of them haven't even touched the weight, in high school. But they coming in, Braden, Koa, Dwayne, Bryce, all these guys, even the newcomers from overseas players. So excited to play with all these guys and really see their full potential once they rounds get a hold of them. And Coach Lloyd and everybody else really get a hold of them. So excited to see they really can become.
What's your initial impression of Bryce James?
A great kid. Really, once you get to meet him, he's got all these lights and eyes on him, but just a normal kid. Wants to have fun, learn the game, play the game. Just a nice person.
There's been a lot of talk of Pete and Burry's in this recruiting class, but Dwayne's a 5-star kid as well, and it seems like he's kind of gone under the radar compared to the other two. Just your guys' thoughts on him and seeing him work out this summer, just his overall game and style.
Yeah, he's a great player. I mean, this ranking system's a pretty big deal in America, and he obviously got those for a reason. You earned them, and he's just as good as anyone can be. And like I said before, there's always growing pains with new arrivals, and you just got to trust the work. You got to trust that the coaches have the right path. And then as the season comes, it'll be exciting to see once these guys, like JB said, like once the coaches really get a hold of them and rounds, and they really get inside the program, and it's like we can actually see like what they can really do for Arizona.
Has Elon even here yet? Have you seen him?
Yeah, I think he got here last night. We saw him today the first time. But yeah, seems like a cool kid. But
You haven't played.
no, he just got here. So
Jaden, you said something about the way last season ended. I didn't know if you meant like the Duke game in particular or anything else, because you guys were, playing pretty well in the Big 12 tournament and the Oregon game, et cetera. What did you mean by that? And was there something in particular that really motivated you?
Just we definitely wanted to, hang up a Big 12 regular season championship or a Big 12 tournament, and get past the Sweet 16 as a program. And I've personally never been past a Sweet 16 before either. So just those little accomplishments, throughout the season, that's definitely, we're not talking about it all the time, but that's something, big picture that we want to, accomplish, just one of the three or not, three out of three for sure.
So it's really early now, and you haven't, like you said, you haven't seen everybody, but like, what do you think, and we've talked a little about physicality, et cetera, what do you think early on anyway, could be kind of how this team might be different than last year's as far as strengths, weaknesses, et cetera?
I mean, I think we were pretty physical last year, and then you go against a team like Houston and teams that are kind of pride themselves on that physical aspect, and you kind of really see like where you match up. And it's great we got guys returning that kind of have that experience and kind of know what to expect. And then it's great, like you said, the freshmen coming in. Also, these guys are big bodies and they haven't even lifted weights yet. So I think it's all just going to take time to kind of fall together. To guys really understand like how they can kind of use their abilities for the benefit of the team. But I mean, it'll be exciting once we start. I mean, I'm not sure on a difference as of now. I think it's too early to say, but it'll be exciting when the season starts.
Jaden, you and Caleb obviously were on the court a ton. Now he's gone, Braden comes in. What's the process of kind of building that chemistry and learning about his game?
Just first of all, just learning, just who he is off the court, building that connection so it's, genuine. And then the player he is, the physical, fast guard, can shoot it, get downhill, very athletic. So, just learning his game, getting in the gym with him, and, it's definitely going to be a, vital piece for us, and, excited to see what, he can bring to the table and, things I can learn from him too. So excited.
You guys have, I'm sure, been able to watch maybe a little bit of the summer league, just seeing how Caleb Love is doing and Carter Bryant as well. Just your thoughts of the energy Carter's been bringing in the summer league and the performance that Caleb Love has been able to put out there.
Yeah, I think it's been great for them. I mean, showing what they can do. Obviously for us, I think we saw them all year, so we kind of had a better outlook on, almost least surprised at others. But yeah, I mean, Carter's showing great energy, especially on the defensive end. I mean, he's really, locking guys up and showing his ability to get, move side to side and how athletic he can be. Caleb's obviously one of the best offensive talents that was in college last year, and he's really showing that in the summer league. But I mean, yeah, I couldn't be more proud of those guys, and best of luck to them. But I mean, for me, I'm the least surprised because I saw that all year.
Yeah, no, facts. I just, talked to both of those guys yesterday. I'm definitely happy that, they're doing well. But, like Deli said, we've seen that, all year in practice. I'm just excited they can show the world and, their abilities and their talent, and excited for them to, continue to do well and, see how their, NBA career turns out.
I was wondering, Deli, did you pay attention to that before the draft? There was so much talk about Carter, why his usage rate was low, why he didn't start, or whatever. You were a big part of that because Tommy was giving a lot to you because of your experience and ability. But I don't know, like you said, you saw behind the scenes. Were you kind of surprised by all that chatter that people maybe should have known that Carter was that good, or I don't know. What was your reaction?
To be honest, I didn't really pay attention to that. I didn't see that, so I'm not fully familiar with it. But I guess we always say that what's in the room with us at practice is all we need. We don't really need anyone else or these outside noise, and people don't know what's going on fully. So, like I said, it goes back to the trust of we trust Tommy, we trust Murph, all the guys, like what they're deciding to do with certain guys and how they want the team to kind of run the offense or run the defense or whatever it is. That's just what it is, and they have their reasons, and the world doesn't even know their reasons, but people are always going to talk.
You can see Carter definitely translating to that level the way, yeah.
Yeah.
Your guys' thoughts on Coach Chappelle just being able to work with him and just a new face in the coaching room there?
Definitely, just a great guy to have around. You can definitely feel his energy when he's there. What some of the coaches, away with the USA basketball stuff, I was, really able to get in the gym with him, see what he's all about. I like the energy he brings and the stuff he does in his workout. So I'm excited what he, brings to the team.
All set. All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.